Hello, Megan.
Hi.
Okay, so I have some questions for you. What is your overall leadership approach, and how have you come to settle on that way of leading and managing?
Hmm. It's a good question. I would say, um, I take the not micromanaging approach. Um, and I feel like learning from books or learning from um, experiences, classes, and then applying and discussing how we've applied different leadership skills is the way that um, I've taken that approach.
Okay. And how have you come to settle on that way of leading and managing?
Oh, I've come to settle on it just from years of historically, I would have micromanaged or not even micromanaged. A lot of times I would just take over when things didn't seem to be going correctly. And so instead of doing that, um, as that isn't sustainable, um, I found ways that and it really depends on the person. The team that I have now, it works to have them read and apply and then let them test the skill um, and see if it works for them. It may not work with every team, but that seems to be the approach that we've taken. And it has been successful in helping to develop better managers and leaders on our team.
Cool. How do you keep your team motivated over time?
That really depends on the individual. So you really have to know your individual and what motivates them. Would be the first step, which can be hard to figure out because a lot of times when you ask someone what motivates them, they may give you an answer that's easy. A lot of times people will say money, and that's not always what motivates a person. We found in our team, a lot of people have told us money, and it really is affirmation. And so we've applied different tests to see what motivates a team, and then making sure that you switch per individual, which can be hard as a leader again because what motivates you might not be what motivates someone else, and you have to switch a lot in order to motivate that person. So um, the other thing that we've done is for our team. I would say that's the first step. The second step is we've tried to create a bigger picture and not always hone in on failures, but a bigger picture of um, how can we meet these big measurements. So for our sales team, making sure that they have numbers and small little things throughout the month to keep on track, versus just the end of your end of your quarter, your end of whatever. You have small increments all the time, small motivators throughout your time period that you're measuring. So
Yeah. How do you handle conflict within your team?
um
this renovation have to be a reminder of the essence of what makes
so
community.
I would say this one we tried to get to the root of the issue. Um, we tried. All of our management team read a book. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it was by Chris Voss, and who was an FBI interrogator. And everything that he did was what how questions to really get to the root of the cause. And so a lot of times what we do is we prep when we see an issue arising within some type of conflict within a team. We as a team, as a managerial team, will get together, write out some questions some what how questions in order to get that person to open up and talk to you. Whether it's one person or multiple people on the team, then individually meet with them and then, go from there, to really hone in on what that root of the problem is and then move from there. So,
What are the qualities of a successful manager in your opinion?
well, the way that we determine it on our team is we have three sayings, that they're humble, they're hungry, and they're smart. So they're humble, they're willing to take criticism, they're willing to learn. They don't think they're the smartest person in the room. They're willing to do every job that's out there, because that's the only way you can really understand a team and understand who you're managing. So they're humble, they're hungry, they want to develop whatever business they're in, whatever role they're in. They want to be successful. They're go-getters. Um, Again, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And then they're smart. This not only is smart as in analytical, they can do the job, but also people smart, that they can work with the people around them, that they can notice when someone's causing a conflict. They can notice someone who needs to be pushed. They can notice someone who's excelling and can, again, change who they are to motivate different types of people, that they can really talk and work with tons of different types of people.
Okay. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult management decision and how you handled it.
I would say for me, firing or letting go of someone, having those hard conversations is probably the hardest decision for me. And the last time we had to do that, to separate from one of our team members, who was in more of a managerial position, we again went to those what how questions. We all got on the same page of it really wasn't a good fit, and then we were able to separate, from that team member and let them go. But I would say just talking through, having an other people on a managerial team sometimes to work through, problems has been helpful too. So,
How do you provide effective feedback to your team members?
we've done this different ways throughout the years. At one point we had every team member turn in a 5-question little thing each week to see where they were at, not only in their work life, but also personal life. And then we were able to meet with them if there was something that seemed outside the norm, either good or bad. And then other times we've done just quarterly reviews with employees. That seems to be probably the most consistent, is those quarterly reviews, especially once we're working. Now I only work with a managerial team, who manages people underneath. And so quarterly reviews. We also hold weekly meetings with our top manager. And so working with her and going through different, any problem that arises within that week and giving feedback just right off the bat. I always feel that it's better to address the situation sooner rather than later. So giving that feedback, and then offering advice, being someone they can come to, but also pushing them to be a better leader and to be able to figure out the best way that they can manage things themselves. So.
How do you handle a struggling team member? Can you share any examples of where your guidance made a difference for that team member?
Yes. So, we had, let's see. I'll say our top manager now, when we brought her into the role, she was an amazing people person, but she wasn't necessarily, she didn't necessarily have managerial skills or skills to run a business. And it was kind of all hands on deck to help to get her up to speed, to give her all that training. We continually adjusted the meetings, the type of training, the what we did, that's when we started implementing quarterly reviews that were more in depth, asking her how she felt like she was doing, and then going over trying to find one thing to work on each quarter to really push her and give her ownership as a manager and a leader. And it probably took a year and a half to get her completely up to speed on things. And there's still little things, but overall, she was able to see the business in a different way. We read books, we did different leadership conferences, we did different trainings, we worked with her every week. So just again, all hands on deck to get her up to speed.
How important is trust in your team?
Trust is huge. We went through again when we let go of our last employee. We made the decision amongst the team to either trust each other or you couldn't be on that team. And trust is built in many different tiers and ways. And we did, different types of trust exercises, trust things. But we pushed our employees not only to trust us, but also to trust each other. And you can see a completely different team when the team trusts each other versus when they don't. They're able to rely on each other more. They're able to perform a ton better. And when you're able to open up, you're able to share weaknesses and also grow more. And you can't do that without trusting someone. Until you trust someone, you can't share your weaknesses, you can't grow and learn from each other. So
How do you build that trust?
You have to be vulnerable, you have to be humble, and you have to be willing to let someone see those weaknesses and then have someone help you, to acknowledge again that you're not especially as a leader, that you're not the smartest one in the room ever, that you're going to have team members with different strengths, and try to emulate those strengths will help you to build that trust, I think.
How do you develop future leaders on your team?
Well, you have to find people who want it, because there's different ways to grow in any company. So first, you have to have someone who wants to lead and manage. And I guess you also have to determine whether you're finding someone who wants to lead and manage a team or just wants to lead some responsibility. And so if they want to lead and manage a team, then you need to hone in on what those skills, again, for us, it's humble, hungry, and smart. So what skills do they have within that? What skills do they not? And how, if they aren't humble, what are you going to do to help them to be humble? How can you expose their weaknesses and help them to see someone else's strengths that they can learn from and really push them to learn those. Goal setting is huge. Helping people to see, specifically in like a sales setting, helping them to see numbers, where they can improve, where they can get better, and then giving them goals and holding them responsible for those goals. I think other things is helping them to own different responsibilities and giving them small responsibilities, and then growing and growing and growing on those responsibilities helps them to become a leader. Those are probably the things.
Okay. I think we probably only have maybe 20 seconds left.
Oh,
but
awesome.
What role does creativity play in your management? You have about probably 20 seconds.
Creativity is one of the most important things because you can't have a business without creating and growing. And so you always want your team. This is where a humble leader will look to their team to be creative and not only they won't have to come up with everything themselves. So if they're creating an atmosphere where everyone is creative, then they can grow and they can keep that company flourishing. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it.